I'm delighted to be here to be part of this series as someone who spent their whole life as a musician, composer, conductor, and accompanist to people reading their poetry. It's a joy to be able to read a few of the little things that I have written. I don't consider myself to be a poet, but more of an appreciator of poetry, a friend of a whole bunch of poets, and have the joy of accompanying many people, as I did with Jack Kerouac when we did the first ever, what they called jazz poetry readings in New York City, the Bradda Art Gallery in 1957, the first ones. I've worked with W.H. Auden, doing a score for a film that he wrote the poetry for, and many, many other poets all over the world, and continue to do it with young poets today, so I'm just happy to be part of this. This is from a chapter of my new book, Upbeat 9 Lives of a Musical Cat, and this chapter was called Words and Music, Scat and Makeup Songs, and the Art of One-Time Only Rap Reporting. Because when I brought Bob Dylan over to play with Allen Ginsberg in 1971, and we started to do that, I thought it was great to have songwriters, lyricists, symphony composers who were also jazz musicians like myself, all get together and collaborate just to see if we could expand each other's horizons. And in the process, I usually make things up on the spot. I'm best known for that. These are things that I actually wrote down. And since, of course, being 77 as we speak, they're done in rhymes, which is the way I was brought up, reading Longfellow, Thackeray, and so many other great poets of yore. But I love all forms of poetry, whether it's rhyming, whatever the genre is, doesn't really matter. The first one is a result of a trip to Chengdu, China for the first Beat Meets East Festival a few years ago, based on an experience as I was looking out the window just before flying back to the USA. My Buddha angel in Chengdu. It's 5 a.m. in Chengdu, China. I can't sleep a wink. Staring out the window, water drips on dishes and the sink. A bicycle goes by, a young gal sits side saddle on the back. Looks like Buddha's angel daughter, sent from heaven, dressed in black. She glances up, her dark eyes make the morning come to life. Suddenly I realized long ago this angel was my wife. Wanted now to tell her when we married many years ago that I never would have left her if I knew then what I now know. Waited for what seemed 1,000 years to see those eyes again, hoping someday I could tell her that our love would never end. Never dared to tell her then, because of all the love we shared, it was more than I could handle, even though I really cared. Now it's many lifetimes later, here in Chengdu, 5 a.m., my favorite wife from an earlier life, the sweetest one of all of them. Once she told me in our lifetime our true love would never die, and that even if I left her, Buddha's angel still would fly. Now she tells me broken hearts will all heal themselves in time, and that all the pain I caused her now is gone, except for mine. Now in Chengdu, through the window, she's come back to me again, riding on the back seat of a bicycle, side saddle with her friend. Guess that since she passed me by, there's only one thing I can do, get myself a brand new gal and a bicycle built for two. When in this reincarnation, when I've found a brand new bride, maybe I'll find out it's Buddha's angel riding by my side, telling me wherever we have been and through whichever life, through all our incarnations, she's always been my wife. Now it's 7 in the morning. Chengdu streets are filled with light. I'm still staring out the window as the day is growing bright. Waiting by the window, need to see my true love's eyes again. When she rides by on her bicycle, side saddle with her friend, then I'll tell her that I love her. This time, I know what to do. Waiting by the window for my Buddha angel in Chengdu. And the next one I wrote a few years ago at the end of Lowell Celebrates Kerouac Festival. And a fantastic woman singer came to what they called an Amram Jam, which was everybody in town for 6 hours coming and singing or reading a poem, and I just accompanied them spontaneously as I did with Kerouac. And when she left, I wanted to run out in the street to thank her for her great performance. And there, lying on the street, I saw a black beret that she's been wearing. So I wrote a little poem about that called The Woman in the black beret. In Lowell, where Jack's heart still beats, we gathered for some poem and eats. The joy we shared was worth the cost. Paradise was no longer lost. Paradise is found, and so were we, with music, song, and poetry. I'd done this 6-hour jam before, the way Jack shared his open door. Young and old came to hear and see the way it was and will always be. When joy meets spontaneity, all hearts connect and minds feel free. On that October afternoon, our trio played a brand new tune. I saw someone come through the door. I knew I'd seen her face before. She wore an old school black beret, but not in the beatnik cliche way, rather like the French still do, like Dizzy did in '52. Bird and Dizzy both told me that they knew someday they would be appreciated in the way that they finally are today. It all took years and sometimes tears, and they're not here to hear the cheers, but their music's here to stay, as classic as that black beret. Worn in a natural '50s style that made all cats and kitties smile when Bird and Dizzy and Monk were kings with black berets and diamond rings. But Bird told me that now's the time. To live without the now is a crime. He said this back in '52, so someday I'd know what to do. Said, here's a thought for you to share. The hippest thing's to be a square. My beret is what I love to wear, 'cause I love Paris when I'm there. I don't wear it anymore. Other cats who do don't know the score. They think that fashion's what makes art. Our music just comes from our heart. Bird's words came back to me again as I slipped from New York to the way back then, but realized that now's still the time to share what's precious and sublime, to see that in some special way the presence of that black beret was now the voice of yesterday, saying, I'm still with you here today. Hours later, just around 7, like a voice that came from heaven, the woman with the black beret sang and blew our blues away. With perfect pitch and natural grace, she brought a smile to every face. We felt we were now on a trip as her voice sailed us on her ship. Now day was night. I had to drive 200 miles to arrive at my next port of call to play some music on the very next day. I said goodbye to everyone. Another festival was done. I packed my bags and paid the band. I hugged and shook my final hand. I went to say one last goodbye to the woman who made our spirits high. I talked to her about her singing and all the joy that she was bringing, how she made the precious past alive and now and built to last, and how her very special way could help us all live for each day, inspiring us with her special gift to heal all lonely souls and lift our spirits and bring all joy back as we all honored Kerouac. There was no more that I had to say. We'd said it when we played that day. I watched her as she drove away on dusky Lowell streets now gray. Laying there before my feet on that rainy old bricked Palmer Street, resting there as if to say, take me, I'm your black beret. Now I'm on the road again. I really don't know where or when I'll give her back that black beret, which she wore in that special way. She wrote me and said, just keep it warm and wear it if you're in a storm. Put it on a hook or a shelf till I wear it once again myself. I told my son when I got back the way she sang for Kerouac, how she drove away. I found her black beret there on the ground. Next year in Lowell, when Jack's heart still beats, I'll bring my son for poems and eats. He'll meet and hear the final day, the woman in the black beret. Thank you, and keep writing, all you poets, musicians, composers, painters, actors, dancers, and visionaries. Keep being creative. Whatever you do to pay the rent, be creative.